sure you guys have heard about the Empire in Clarksburg. So that's a 3-phase redevelopment project, which will house a National Empire Brewery, and will have MVP, which have committed to a 5-year lease. It'll have a co-shared office space for entrepreneurs, and a fitness facility, short-term and long-term rentals, and additional housing at the top floors. And I know we're working with them to get them funding to be able to complete the project. So that's in the process of making.
We have also one of our brownfield sites. So I'm going to just slide on brownfield. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So Harrison Regional, I don't know much, if you guys know much about Harrison Regional, but the blue portion, which is located near the airport, so the blue portion corresponds to Harvest Care, which is a growing facility for medical marijuana in Harrison County. So the Harrison County Economic Development Corporation actually acquired the yellow piece and the red piece from the county commission to be able to redevelop it into other manufacturing, for other manufacturing companies. Right now, we are working on this piece to build a 50,000 square foot building, which would go into bid within 2 weeks. Construction will take about 6 months, and we also have an access road, this portion right there, which the plans have been submitted to the state. Once that's completed, we'll go ahead and work on the yellow portion of Harrison Regional and build another 50,000 square foot building, maybe.
So this is a great example of kind of really behind the scenes developing a park. This is one of our first parks that we fully developed. And what we do in developing it is working with the county, and to write the access road. Work with them to help develop the Harvest Care Medical, which is, like we said, growing and processing, and they now have 6 dispensaries in the state, so they are growing over 100 employees there. This was purchased by the EDC from the county commission, and then what we did was we wrote a $2.6 million federal EDA grant to build the shell building on the red, like we said, and then we'll mark it the yellow. This part will be complete. Once it's complete, then we move on to the next. So a lot of the funding that's available, I would say the majority of it, 90% of the funding that's available that's out there, it needs to be from a public entity. Private entities do not qualify. So if you are a private owner, you want to start a business, you can't really write a grant and say, hey, can the government help me? They really can't. This is how it's done. So municipalities and counties work together to apply for those funds. So the county commission has the land, we purchase the land, we use that, we write the grant, we build the building, we lease it out, we have jobs. So we'll have approximately 400 jobs in just that park. And we used quite a bit of federal and state funding to help us do that. Now, in addition, we have the capability to apply to the state. There's a match to a lot of these grants. So the $2.6 million federal grant, we had to apply to the state of West Virginia Economic Development Authority, another entity that we work with, and apply for a $1.4 million match. That is now on us to pay that back with the lease of the building. And then we move on to the next one. So that's kind of how we work behind the scenes.
The next slide is just an overview of Harvest Care. 43,000 buildings, jobs, 80% processing and growing facilities, and 6 dispensaries.
There's a
So, last year we received our Brownfields wide assessment grant. We've been working on it for quite a few years now, and we finally got it. And that consists of throughout the entire county. So far, we have formed a committee, and we're pulling sites from every single part of Harrison County. So far, we have 25 in total, and they keep growing every single time.
So Lewis received the year prior, so you're about the same process we're doing, same exact grant.
Yeah.
Countywide assessment. And including the community, it's not just Luis and I. We've hired Stantec. Stantec is our engineer, environmental company. It's going to complete the assessment, and it's not just us either. This includes a steering committee throughout the county to assess these properties, to pick the properties, understand what this means, and there's a process that they'll go through. So sometimes it's gonna be a phase 1, it might need a phase 2, sometimes it might need demolition, sometimes you find out there's asbestos and lead, how do you remediate? Even to the point of marketing, we can go after additional funds to help redevelop and market a site within a brownfield site.
Just to give you an example of the sites we've submitted, one of them is the Walton Hotel, Spelter site, Parsons Hotel.
So 25 schools included, or I'm sorry, 21 schools.
So it's a large list.
Yeah, so it can be greenfield, brownfield, buildings. We're still learning. It's a learning process for us. But if anybody knows a brownfield site, again, for community outreach, there are sites that we may not even know that are there, that exist, that you might not know. When we met with the Empire, we didn't have the Empire building on our list. But when we met with the Empire group, they had already purchased it, they already had a plan, you saw the pictures, it was great. Found out that they do have asbestos and lead, and they will need a phase 1. That's one of our sites now. So that's how we find out.
So, the Department of Economic Development has put together a Yes West Virginia Ready Sites, which is to put money into developing sites that are ready for companies looking to expand or relocate in West Virginia. We were given the go ahead on 2 sites. We submitted more than 2, but 2 of them got submitted. I think the largest one is 180 acres, which can be developed into manufacturing facilities. I know the state has been getting a lot of RFIs. RFIs are requests for information. The EDC gets about 6 per month. Turnaround is as little as 24 hours. We have to gather information from all utilities and send it back, make sure that everything is correct. And from there, we get either selected to the next phase, which would be contact visits and everything to get them to relocate.
So if the company wants to expand, they want to relocate, even a local one, and they'll put out an RFI. Sometimes we get those directly, just get a call and say, this is what I'm looking for. Sometimes it will be through the county commission as a point of contact. It'll be through the state. The state hires a company to work with the site selection. So a lot of them do come from the state. The state of West Virginia reaches out. We have an RFI that needs 100 acres, 50,000 square foot building, 2 miles from the interstate. They may know that much. Sometimes they know even more details. We need to have a sprinkler, it needs to be this and this. They send it to us, we do our inventory, Louise goes down to the inventory, and we see what fits, and then we submit. We try to submit on every single one. We don't want to leave any of those vacant. If it's something that we don't have, we're going to reach out to Lewis County, we're going to reach out to Marion County, Douglas County. We know you guys have a couple of these sites. We don't have a 300-acre site. Does anybody have 300? We want it to land here no matter what. So even if we can't comply with that or respond with our properties, we'll reach out to others. This has been going on for probably 5 or 6 years now. So the state of West Virginia, it's actually Mike Graney, said, we are submitting, we're finding sites. These BDOs and BDAs, which is we are business development or economic development agencies, sometimes only have 1 person, 2 people, 3 people at the most. You really may not know what properties you have. And even if you do, your properties aren't ready. They're not built to suit. And we're finding this out through the entire state. The state of West Virginia can't and we haven't been able to, do the build it, they will come. We'll just invest a couple million, we'll create a flat pad that has everything ready, and then we'll just wait. We can't do that, we can't afford to do that. And we've done it that other counties couldn't do it either. It's not just the growing ones, it's not just the ones that have no money or no staff, it's all across the state. So they created, like Louise said, the Site Ready program. It was approved, it went through legislation, we have additional funding now, hopefully more funding, and that's seed money for us to develop sites. We were allowed to submit 2, both of ours were selected like we said, and then we'll continue to go through this process. Like we talked about the Aerotech Park that we have at the airport, pad ready to go. We have maybe 6 other sites that are ready to market. We will now add these 2 very large ones to that. So when these RFIs come in, we can just shoot right out our portfolio of all the utilities, all the access, every piece of information on that site, and we will be able to compete with some of these other companies, other states.
And those submittals are so detailed that it asks for how far away are your gas lines and the sizes of the pipes and sewers. It's pretty detailed.
Yes. So I was gonna say, I'll back up just a little. So we formed the I-79 corridor group, and I know I was talking to Jim Hunt. This went back, this is it's an old group. Back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. It's changed names. Kathy's been able to revive this group, the I-79 corridor group. So what it does is it takes I-79 and it acts as a main street. So all of the counties that are along I-79, we have a committee. Somehow I just got elected president for that one too. But it's to develop this area, and it's a regional marketing is what it is. And our 3 goals recently have been housing, sites, and workforce. We're just keeping it very simple, but yet those are big ones to tackle. Each of the counties that fall along I-79 are tasked with finding out what properties and inventory we have to market. We want to know what our housing is so we can market that and grow that. We also want to know what our workforce is. So that goes along with the Build West Virginia. Do you want to talk about that? Okay. So, Build West Virginia districts all throughout the state. We're creating one right in this area. And we've included Lewis County and Doddridge. Actually, Ray, you're the kind of the front runner on this. So the 3 of us are working together to create this Build West Virginia district. And it will be a tax incentive for home builders, property value adjustment credit, potential B&O. I mean, there's a list, and they're a little flexible, which is nice. Didn't realize how flexible they are, but we can be creative in marketing home builders to come in order to give them a tax credit and make it worth building here. It didn't used to be economic development. It's not something that we were into. It didn't really create jobs, created housing. Now that this is one of the tasks for economic development, we need housing in order to have the companies here. So if the companies are saying, can you get us housing? This is one way we can help them get housing. So yeah, did you know? We didn't know. So when I came on, it was, okay, let's get an idea of economic development. It's just everything. And then years later, I interviewed Louise. He said, so what is economic development? 3 hours later, and I told the story 3 hours later. I don't think I answered your question, but it was just, so when I said we do targets, we do balloons, whatever it takes for economic development. We do films. We do West Virginia Film Credit was reinitiated recently, and it has taken off. So West Virginia is becoming one of the hot spots for films because of the credits. We've had Netflix, we've had Hallmark, we've had them local. We've had them here in Clarksburg. We've had a couple. We've had, I think, 2 large ones in the county that have not been released, but we were able to work with them behind the scenes, which was really, really cool, especially when you see a name that you know of, and you can search what movies they were in, and you can got to meet them. But it's great for the area, and the numbers that come off of that made it realistic to us. If you're going to film, this is the economic impact. If you're going to come in and we're going to do a long film, let's say it's a documentary, these are the numbers that come off of that, the economic impact. If you are a series, this is what you get, the economic impact for one of those. If it's renewed, it doubles. If it's renewed again, it triples. So we can see now the benefit of, yes, we definitely want you to film here. Now we're marketing buildings and tourism and sites that we never thought, a separate inventory for films to be located here. Even if it's a 5-minute clip, or if it's a whole season, it's worth it to have them here.
And for anybody wondering, a movie that just got released was The Bad Guardian, which has scenes from Harrison County and 2 locations in Shinston, Jimmy's Diner and Born and Bred Studios in Shinston.
So for job fairs, Joni Gray, okay, hi. Haven't met yet, but Tracy Miller just called me right before this and said that it would be okay to call you out. So we work, another thing that we're tasked with internally, as well as the I-79 and with the Chamber of Commerce, job fairs, workforce development. And are you new to your position? New to Pierpont, but not to workforce?
Well, I'm actually new to Pierpont. I have some experience with workforce, but
Okay.
yeah, so I've been in my position 3 weeks. I would love to connect with folks here. So thank you, Tracy Miller.
She said, go ahead, call her out. So.
But my area is career and corporate training, that's the focus, and workforce development.
Excellent. Yes, we'll definitely be talking then. So,
Wonderful.
anything related to workforce, job fairs, whatever, it's all economic development. Daycare, yeah, that's a new one for us. To the point where we actually receive economic development credits for attending daycare seminars and sessions with the state, with federal. It's not just a West Virginia issue, this is a national issue. You've seen it in the newspaper for the state of West Virginia. And when we go to our companies, and we have large companies, let's say 500 employees, what are some of the things that you want us to work on? What are your issues? Daycare is coming up number 1, in the top 5. We have a daycare issue. We already know that we have a workforce issue, getting people back to work. When you're talking to them through Ron Deskins and WVU, they'll go back to work, but we need daycare. So it's all areas, and it's all levels, it's all income levels. Daycare's a big issue. So we're now being tasked, we as economic developers, to create that and combat that, write grants for it. The owners of daycares. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we run the facility, but we would write the grant to build the facility, whether it's 50 employees, whether it's 3 employees. We're waiting to see how this data rolls out and how involved we get into this. We wouldn't be down into the weeds with it. We would work with like a Pierpont or something like that, so we can have a shared resources and have the training, but the building would be ours. The program would be ours, so we're still learning on that one. Housing, talked about the Bill of West Virginia. We need to become veteran communities. I think that was a fear years ago. We don't want to do housing because it would be a veteran community. Now we want them. We want to be a veteran community. We want to help grow Clarksburg. We want to help grow Doddridge County. If Doddridge County, Salem, Clarksburg grows into the housing, if that's what they have, they're flushing through 50 to get to work. They're going to Morgantown, going to Pittsburgh, going to the airport, going to the FBI. It's still gonna grow. It's gonna grow the area. So now it seems that housing is okay to have, where before we don't want housing. Let them live somewhere else, we want the jobs here. We have to think regional. We have to think that we need all of it. We need the jobs, we need the housing, we need the daycare. So future plans, thanks for watching. Regional focus, I think I hit that several times. Comprehensive plan projects, I think it's got a little overwhelming for Luis and I, that we are writing now a federal EDA grant for comprehensive plan projects. And it will be similar to what I said, we met every Tuesday for 4 years at the airport. We will have a company come in and sit down with projects, and we will prioritize those projects. And each of those projects will have a game plan. It will set out how do we go about completion. Which grants do we write for, how much do we write for, how do we complete that? Some of those will be in-house, some of those we're gonna have to have our shared resources that we use, whether it be Clarksburg or Bridgeport or Nutter Ford or Shinston, Chamber of Commerce. It just depends. Each of those projects will be called out in that comprehensive plan. We'd like to see about 10 projects that are doable, and then 3 that are attainable within a very short period. So we'll be a short-term and long-term plan. Infrastructure projects. I know, right here with Lewis County, Dodders County, we have a regional group of the economic developers that we meet. Used to do it every other month. A lot of other counties are doing a lot of infrastructure. We have those projects here, but we're not necessarily involved in those. We may have to end up getting into that more and more. AML funding, which is the abandoned mine lands, Nutter Fort, they're gonna have one of the best in the state systems because of all the upgrades that they continue. They're going after the funding. The funding is there. I don't think the municipalities and the communities know how to go after it or have the ability to go after it. So that will be something that we will be tasked with going after. Additional funding resources, constantly. I don't know if it's gonna change, it might in 5 years, but right now, this is the best time to go after additional funding. Like I said, we qualify, private entities do not. I think AML is probably the only one that I know of as a big bucket that a private entity can go after, but you have to have an abandoned mine land to do it. We can apply for those funds. Land development. That's what we've been doing, that's typically what an ED is known for. We're gonna end up doing more of that. We're gonna end up going to the state and taking out more loans and working with municipalities, county, regional, to develop our own land to market it. Whether we sell it afterwards or release it, that is now going to be a bigger task for us. And we're done. I will do a quick plug. We have Why Choose West Virginia, and it has the state with information. The state of West Virginia puts out a lot of these. Luis does the same thing for the county. So we have, and this is a marketing tool that we use. This is our Aerotech Park that I talked about. We have the QR code on the back. Everything that's aviation, training, utility information as a marketing tool. Instead of handing out our brochures when we go to trade shows, we hand this out. It's been a great resource. He now is able to do that for the communities. So we'll have kind of the key things to hand out, but we'll have those specific to Harrison County, specific to the I-79 in the region, specific to our either Region 1 or Region 6, depending what we're doing, or specific to the communities. So thank you all for having us. I don't know if you have any questions.
Questions? No questions? I'm sure they'll stick around. If you have any questions, please come up and talk to them. Several things that Amy covered. Want to particularly thank Stan Tech. They sponsored this morning's breakfast. As she mentioned, they're doing they have the contract to handle the Brownfields grant, so great resource, another partner, but thank you for sponsoring this morning. Couple of applications we have coming up. Our tank application, we're going to do our tank entrepreneur pitch contest again on October the 2nd. Applications are due by July 31st. Marla put around a couple of brochures on some of the tables. There's a QR code, takes you straight to the application, also on our website. So if you know any entrepreneurs or any new businesses that would be interested in applying, encourage them to do so, July 31st.
Kathy, can I say something about that to
Yes.
the bankers? When, I know you have your criteria that, you know, sometimes they have to have 2 years or more before you can even think about giving them a business loan. Send them our way. If you think that they have a great idea, but at this point your bank can't help them, have them apply. I mean, anybody will be grateful for $10,000 in seed money, but it went beyond that. With our members and our businesses last year, we had another $40,000 worth of that package to offer that grand prize winner. WDTV offered marketing, WBOY offered marketing. The newspaper gave individual mentorship with Andy Nicely. The radio stations. So we didn't just say, here's $10,000, buy. We bought into that winner and also the fan favorite. And then we encouraged all the other contestants. We gave them a year's worth of membership with the chamber. We are here to foster and promote small business in Harrison County. So please, please, please encourage people to apply for this.
July 31st, remember that deadline. Also, July 31st, the deadline for Leadership Harrison applications. This will be our 28th class coming up. Can't believe that, but it's true. If you have not done it, or if you have staff that has not done it, please encourage them to apply. Committee will make those selections August 1st. We'll get started with that class in September. Our next business at breakfast will be here August the 2nd. That will be a wellness wake-up. Amy mentioned Healthy Harrison. John Palmer Mardelli will be here to give us an update on that program. Josh, yeah. Josh Brown will be here with Health Access, and Dr. Mark Provoznik will be here from UHC to give an update on resources that are available. So please join us August 2nd. September the 6th, we're going to talk about workforce. The staff from the Regional Workforce Development Board will be here, as well as we'll have a presentation on virtual job fairs, which are the first Wednesday of every month. Is that okay?
It's not that, it's the state office.
Right, yeah. So we'll have the state presentation on that. Our next business after hours is August the 29th at Beacon Wealth. That will be a tailgate theme prior to the kickoff of football season, so be sure to come out and join us then. Mark your calendars, October 2nd for the tank. October 15th will be the North Central West Virginia Business Summit. Dr. John Deskins will give his North Central West Virginia economic outlook, and we'll have some updates on other regional projects as well. So if you enjoyed this morning, that's a full day of it, so please join us. And then mark your calendar, December 14th, we're doing a new event partnering with United Way, Dancing with the Stars, so watch for that, and we'll have more information. Thank you all for being here this morning. Enjoy your summer. We'll see you soon.